everyone, I'm Luke Hector and you're watching The Broken Meeple. This is a YouTube channel about board games where I give reviews, top 10s and my honest opinions, regardless of the consequences.
Get on with it.
So, continuing the array of short games this week, we've got District Noir. Now, I don't know the original game that this is reprinting. I've never played it before, so I'm just looking at this from this perspective. This is a new 2-player only game from Pandasaurus Games, and it's essentially a kind of light bluffing game of set collection that you have with one opponent. So how does this game work? Well, put simply, you are trying to collect sets of cards, and the sets come in different types of supporters, which are numbered 5 to 8, and they score their respective points if you have the majority of them at the end. There are other cards like Betrayal and Alliance cards, which just straight up give you plus or minus points for having them, but then there are also free city cards, which if you can get all 3 of them, you win the game automatically. So there are 2 victory conditions. But the game is played over 4 essentially identical rounds, all using this one deck of cards where the whole deck will deplete over the course of the game. However, 3 cards will be out of the game to begin with, so you don't have perfect information. But essentially what happens is each of you and your opponent will have 5 cards for the round. There'll be a couple of cards laid out next to the deck, and then basically, let's bring it back so you can actually see it. And then on your turn, you have 2 choices. Either play a card from your hand into the row next to keep it along, or you essentially, if I put some more examples here, or you have the option to pick up exactly 5 cards from the end of the row. So I've got 5 here. If there was less, I'd pick up less. But let's say I put out a couple more like this. I could pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, take all 5, and these go in front of me. So here I managed to grab myself 3 8s, which is pretty fantastic really, a 7, and a +3 card. These are mine, and then we carry on and carry on. The twist is that you only have 6 actions in the round. You have the 5 actions that you have from the cards in your hand, so play a card, but you can only pick up 5 cards once in the round. So at some point you have to do it because you've got 6 actions and only 5 of them can be play a card. So you have to pick up at some point, but when? And your opponent has the same problem. I need to pick up 5 cards. But when? You are essentially trying to goad your opponent into using their pickup action at a time when it doesn't give them the cards that they really should be going after. So do you play some good cards down in order to entice them to pick up 5? Or do you hold them back and play them as late as possible, hoping that the opponent doesn't delay their pickup until that point? It's this little sense of bluffing and goading, effectively, that is what District Noir is. There's not much else to it, it's basically set collection. The idea that you've got 3 cities that can auto-win you the game is cool, although I've yet to have anybody win by this, but it's a bit like the auto-win conditions in Seven Wonders Duel. Most of the time the game will end by victory points, but you can win by this, and you certainly can't ignore it. It's just, in my experience, nobody has yet. It really just depends on how the cards come out. And also, if one of these ends up in the 3 cards that is taken out of the game, well, then there's no way to win with the city cards. It's just, you don't know it's out of the game until the very end. The other parts is just mainly trying to juggle the plus and minus cards, and of course try and get the majorities for these supporters, because if you tie, no one gets the points. You have to have the outright majority, and scores aren't particularly high. I mean, you're talking somewhere between 15 to 25 points as a typical average score. I mean, what's the example on the back of the book? Back of the book says 19 points. So yeah, you don't score too highly, so every point can work, and I've had games decided by close margins before. You've got a couple of reference cards to tell you the denominations of the cards in the game, and a little bit on the back to tell you and remind you how you score up at the end. So again, nice. It's good that it has good reference cards. But other than that, you've just basically got, almost tarot-sized cards with, half decent artwork. I mean, it's nothing to write home about, but it's got that noir feeling. Everybody's essentially a dark silhouette with a good color in the background, but colorblind people don't need to worry because you're more interested in the number at the top. So as long as you can read that, you're perfectly fine. And you just get a little token to represent, who's going first, and then you just alternate it. It's kind of overproduced for what it is, but hey, I'm not going to knock it if they give you a clay poker chip for essentially deciding turn order. Game's very quick. I mean, this is your rule sheet. I kid you not. You literally, one of those is game elements. Setup is a bit of it. Flow of the game is half a page. And then end of the round, end of the game. There's so few rules in this. This is one of the easiest 2-player games I've ever played in the last year or two. And Suffice to say, that means that this is a very good contender for a game cafe, but also if you just got somebody who doesn't tend to play games. Now, they do have to be into this kind of bluffing, goading part though, so if that's not a type of mechanic that they're into, they're not going to enjoy this game. But me, I kind of enjoyed it. I wish there was maybe just a little bit more to it, because it is pretty much just that. And, you know, once I've played a game of this, I might play it again twice in a row, but maybe I would probably maximum only play it twice in a row. But it is reasonably quick, you know, you are done and dusted in about 15-20 minutes. Maybe like 30 minutes tops if you've got somebody with AP, but there's not a huge amount to AP with in this game. It's just you've got to kind of decide what you're going to do with the whole pick up or play options. But it's just quite cool. I mean, you can sleeve the cards if you like, but personally I think they're reasonable card stock. You can sleeve it if you like, it will fit in the box, but you might have to, I don't know, you might be able to fit the cards with sleeves in that insert, but frankly it's a little cheap cardboard insert. You can just chuck that away if you need to. It's just a nice, cool little game. I maybe wish that this was a bit more of an easier way to win with, but it's there, it's a threat. You can't ignore it, so I guess it does fulfill a purpose. It's just a nice, quirky two-player game. I'm giving it overall a 7 out of 10. It's good. I don't think it's fantastic, but it'll do the job. It's quick, it's fast. I can play it with most people. Like, I know, like, pretty much anybody who is new to games should be able to get into this, but the mechanics might not suit a lot of the newer gamers. But yeah, it does what it says on the tin and does it well. I can't really say much more about it because there isn't really much more to say about it. That's the game. If that sounds good to you, then by all means grab it. It's going to be relatively cheap. For me, I'm going to hang on to it. I don't get two-player games to the table often, but something like this, that even if I don't play this for another year and a half, that I can literally just go, oh yeah, that's how it works. Easy, done, and just carry on with that. That's got to speak some volume. So 7 out of 10. This is good. I recommend it. Give it a try. So that's it from me on this episode of The Broken Meeple. If you like what you see, then please thumb this up on YouTube, but also thumb it up on the Board Game Geek page when I put this video file up on there. Of course, check out the rest of the content I've got going out, like all the other short games I'm doing at the moment, and the ones that came before that were a bit larger, shall we say, particularly Marvel Dagger. And of course, let me know your comments down below. Is this a game that you've played, whether in the original version or this new version? Would this one suit you? By all means, let me know your thoughts. But until next time, remember, regardless of whether you can find the elusive free city cards or not, it's still only a game. Bye for now.